And here's another Computex video, because we have such a shortage of those. Hey guys, Peter here, how's it hanging? And we'll have a quick look at some of the more special and interesting products. Special in terms of, I'm sorry my son ate your shoes, he's a bit special. Let's start with ASUS. ASUS have just entered a liquid cooling market. 120, 240 and I see a 360 AIOs all in one liquid coolers, because we have such a shortage of those, and it's made by Asetek because we have such a shortage of those. But it's not just the brand name you'll have to pay a big price for, it also have Oled Display on the pump, on the water block. The only thing ASUS have shown is the ROG logo, but it is basically implied being a screen that you'll be able to project your own things on it. My guess is it's going to be your choice unless they limit it to something. Moving right along, unless you have enough RGB in your life, Lian Li has showed the world's first Rgb Power Cable. It's basically a 24-pin extension cable with optical RGB lights. Recently, I've heard news of Lian Li actually doing an 8-pin EPS cable as well, and PCI Express cables, 6+2-pin PCI Express cables. So if you don't have enough RGB in your life, because there is such a shortage of that as well, well, Lian Li is making RGB cables. Enjoy. There's a slew of RGB products. There's fans, of course, there is RAM, there is all kinds of RGB bullshit. And then there is Gigabyte. Gigabyte has entered the RAM market, the memory market, with their new design, Aorus RGB. It actually looks pretty nice, and if you don't know there is an RGB light on it, you probably wouldn't be able to tell just by looking at it. But it looks pretty good actually. I'm impressed with that. What keyboard is that? Honestly, ask me, I don't know. It's the same as this one, which is the same as this one. They all look the same. I'm just tired of every keyboard looking the same. At least this one tries to do something slightly different. Every keyboard is the same. All of them have the same features, and that is just the same thing. It's boring already. They just all look the same. They're identical. Speaking of identical, what is this case? I can't remember. This case is actually Fantex. It looks like every other case on the market. Closed front with tempered glass. And the power supply shroud. All cases look the same. On the other hand, we have a Colorful also entering the DDR4 memory market with actual colors. Thank you, Colorful, for actually being colorful. Would you believe it? It doesn't have RGB. I'm tempted to buy them just because they don't have RGB. I need those kind of things should be supported. No RGB, I'm all in on that. But you know what, maybe we're going away from RGB, moving towards displays on things. And while the ASUS display might have some practical use, the Inlin 307 that features a 144 pixel display on the front panel is absolutely useless. I mean, come on, seriously? What are you going to do with that? You're going to program your own animation that's going to do what? This is the epitome of uselessness. It's absolutely nothing you can do with that. Well, at least it's something different, it's not just RGB, you know. And then we have some products that are actually useful, like the cable management bar from Seasonic. This thing, I want this thing in my life and inside my case. It's still too early about it though, because they say it's still a prototype and still in development, but they decided to show it at Computex, so I'm really worried that it's going to be working just with some power supplies and not be compatible with all power supplies from Seasonic, but we shall see. Let's give them time and let's see what they come up with. The idea is neat though, it looks good, it definitely saves. a lot of space in cable clutter, especially in some cases that don't have a lot of space for cable management. Though if you don't have a lot of space, I'm not really sure if you'll be able to fit this bar. But okay, I'll give the Seasonic the benefit of the doubt and we'll see what they'll come up with. Rio Toro. So Rio Toro presented to the world their new concept case that I like as an idea, but I don't really like as an execution. So the idea of that case is that it can change its size. So basically, if you need full ATX case for full ATX motherboard, you can shift the case size to accommodate a large motherboard. On the other hand, you can squeeze it down and make your system from full ATX to micro ATX. And that's a really cool idea. You don't have to change case just because you don't want this huge motherboard anymore, or because you do need a large motherboard. I really like that idea. What I do not like about this case is the fact that it's entirely mesh. So dust in that thing is going to be painful to manage. Aside from that, the idea is amazing. Let's see what they'll do with it, because it's still a prototype and there's still some work to be done on it. And then there is the elephant in the room. Intel made a press conference and showed up a 28-core 5 GHz processor high-end desktop. And then the very next day AMD came up on stage and presented to the world a 32-core high-end desktop Threadripper. And both of those were quite interesting, but I'm not sure if I'm going to make an entirely separate video on that bullshit, because it was, well, as I said, there is such a shortage of those videos. So yeah, I'm not going to make probably a new video entirely on that topic. So yeah, that was Computex. Honestly, there was almost nothing interesting going on. Seasonic showed off their cable management bar and that was basically it. There was almost nothing really mind-blowing aside from cases with displays on front and AIOs with displays on the pump. And that was Computex. Basically very boring Computex. So yeah, another boring video about a boring Computex. Computex 2018 coming to you, financed by my own pocket. Now I'll be going away because I have like 17 billion press conferences to watch and make videos about E3 2018 that is going to be even more boring than Computex. That would be all from me for today. I'll see you in the next video, guys.